New details on a story we've been tracking now since the November election, protecting your vote. Last year, the state took several steps to update their voting technology, and now another proposal to ensure your vote is counted correctly. There's a bill before the General Assembly that would mandate post-election audits. Eyewitness News reporter Brian Yukono is here now with a story that's new at 5.
Formatting mistakes caused a recording problem for 2 communities in the November election. Now lawmakers are considering post-election audit legislation that would potentially catch ballot errors. We traveled to North Kingstown to talk with town clerk Jeanette Elward, reflecting on election night last November.
It was very obvious that something was wrong.
Elward tells me only a handful of people voted for a recurring ballot question approving a loan program for the town septic system.
It's panic because if something is wrong with that question, what else is wrong on the ballot?
How do you move forward then when you have a question like that over your mind of?
We had many conversations that morning with the Board of Elections. They're the ones that figured out what the problem was. And then it was, well, how do we deal with this? You know, how are we going to correct this?
The Board of Elections, she says, reran the ballots from that night and found, in fact, the question had passed. We asked the Secretary of State's office what happened. They explained there are 4 ballots printed from the voting machine vendor, Election Systems and Software: official, mail, test, and sample ballots. But subtle changes in the spacing of words and the ovals were made on ballots in North Kingstown and Foster that weren't reflected on the test ballots, which are then used to calibrate the machines.
The only reason it was caught is the election result was so unusual that people questioned it. Had it been a close election result, no one would have questioned it, and it may never have been caught.
John Marion with the good government group Common Cause Rhode Island has advocated for years that the state adopt an audit system. He says the current bills would put Rhode Island on the cutting edge of how audits are executed, saying it's an extra layer of protection.
Not because, Russians are trying to hack into our machines, but because, humans make mistakes. And machines make mistakes because they're programmed by humans.
Bob Raposa with the Board of Elections says his office already conducts random audits, but this bill would mandate them. The legislation doesn't specify how, but Raposa says that would be up to the full board to decide. Both John Marion and Jeanette Elward agree with that plan.
I think every clerk in this state that is in charge of elections wants to protect the integrity of any election. So any process that guarantees that, we're all about.
A recommendation from the Secretary of State's office is to create one master ballot rather than those 4 to streamline the ballot proofing process. I'm Brian Yukono, Eyewitness News.
Ballot consolidation and post-election audits are just 2 in a series of recommendations issued yesterday by a state elections task force. Now, coming up at 6, Eyewitness News reporter Tim White sits down with the Secretary of State for a look at some of the other suggested changes, including a proposal to begin early voting in Rhode Island.